Tomorrow it's gonna be 85, and then the following day, 32.
Mm.
You're just mocking us.
Yeah,
I know it will be warmer.
I do.
Hey, I know it's like 0 and Maine.
Crazy.
Okay, we are ready.
Okay, welcome to the March 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Transportation Committee. My name is Barack Friedman, and I am the vice chair of the committee. I am chairing tonight's meeting in Chair Jason Fromwitz's absence. Tonight, we are joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. This meeting is called to order at 7:01 p.m. As a reminder, New York State law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Okay, so we need a volunteer to take minutes tonight. Maya and Miriam are exempt. They're the only ones to have done it in 2025. Volunteering to take minutes. Thank you, Michael.
May I have a computer?
Not this computer, but afterwards, Brendan can send you all the information for the minutes, and it's on YouTube.
Well, I need someone to take minutes on, like paper or something. We can get you some paper.
Yeah, I can fetch some paper.
What I got in here?
Is that easier than watching the recording later?
We all have our
Is that
ways.
easier than watching the recording later?
We just probably want to take it fresh in this month.
Okay.
If you need more, just ask.
There's a pen. All right. Well,
Yeah, I've got more.
thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we will now take attendance by roll call. Brendan will conduct the roll call.
Committee members, I will call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Michael Cohen.
Present.
B. Disman.
Present.
Maya Donahue.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Fromwitz won't be with us tonight. Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Anna Heisier also won't be with us tonight. Marion Rowe.
Present.
Larry Shire.
Present.
Gabe Terzo.
Present.
And Joey Weinstein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the February 3rd meeting were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the February 3rd meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about the agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Okay, so first item on the agenda is a report from NYC DOT. Colleen, are you there?
Hey, Barack. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Let's see, what do I have to report to the community board? We are putting together our milling and paving schedule for this season, and I always ask the community board to please send us locations that they have in mind that they would like us to look to determine whether it's eligible for paving. The other thing is that I got an email from Sandy and Molly regarding safety bollards at 33rd Street and Second Avenue. This is the service road. We did make some improvements there, and I will look into that request and I'll get back to the board on that. It seems like we have the flexible post and they're being frequently damaged by cars. And once that's done, when that happens, we have our crew in Maspeth that'll go out there and replace those flex posts immediately. So I'm gonna discuss it with Commissioner Pinkar and see what we can do in terms of having something more robust there at that location. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Colleen. Bren, do you mind putting up the pictures there? Just so everybody's on the same page of what we're talking about here.
Yes, 33rd and Second Avenue.
So, yeah, you could see on the far end a few bollards, but a lot of them are broken there. And kind of, you know, the Alliance for Kips Bay is interested in activating this space, maybe like an art mural. Do you still do those big awesome rocks, Colleen?
We do, yes.
We do, yeah. You know, it might be something to consider here, but we can talk more about that.
Right.
Okay, so opening up for any questions for Colleen. Larry?
Regarding the flexible posts, I've had a real tough time reporting them to 311. And I was wondering if there might be some way to provide a function on the 311 app that would allow you to show the location on a map so that that could be easily reported. There are two different types. There are the thin ones and then there are thick knobby ones, and the operators just don't seem to understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sometimes it's the language and the precise information about the materials that need to be replaced. What I would suggest is if you can just email Brendan the location. Photos are always helpful. Email that to Brendan and I would send that over to my colleagues in Maspeth. They're very, very good in terms of getting them replaced.
You know, that's how we've proceeded before, but I
Yes.
thought that for members of the public who don't know about this special relationship, it might be useful to add a feature to 311's app.
Well, we can discuss that with 311, but given that you're on the community board, you're a member, it's always good to utilize the community office as well, to send that information to me. But we can speak to 311 and, find out what language they are using in terms of, putting this information into their system.
I have a question about something different, and it may be more than just repaving. I took the M15 bus up First Avenue as we were passing the Solo property, which, as you know, is supported from underneath with some kind of pilings. It was a very rough ride, and I wonder if there's a subterranean issue there for quite a few blocks.
I wouldn't know if there is any issue as what you explain. I would have to have an inspector go out there. Our highway inspector would have to, visit the site to determine what the issue is with the roadway.
Right.
If you can,
From about 38th Street north to at least 40th Street.
Brendan?
Okay.
Yeah, and to kind of dovetail with what Larry said, I feel like, I would need to take a look at our records, but I feel like this stretch of First Avenue has come up on and off, so yeah, it does make me wonder if there's something structural underneath that's an issue.
Any other questions for Colleen? Okay, I just have one more question. Any more news about the 59th Street Bridge, South Roadway pedestrianization?
So, a great segue. We are working on something that we're going to be releasing soon. I will make sure that the community board gets the information. We're working with finalizing the details for that. And we're going to be, again, sharing information with the community boards and with the elected officials soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Within, I would say within a week or so.
Okay, great.
Mhm. You're welcome.
Okay, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Oh, nobody's, okay. So item is number 2 is continued discussion for request for no parking in front of 405 East 54th and I believe 404 East 55th. And just to recap where we are, it did not pass full board with a lot of concerns being about the process. Is the process fair for how these, I don't think there are objections specific to this site. It was just more generalized process questions about how we accept or deny these no parking requests. So we passed at last February full board a process for it. So with that in mind, if anybody wants to jump in. Anybody have any thoughts?
May I share one more? So I'm still chewing, but the other comments. I mean, my issue still remains the same, which is just like, and you'll take it to board and you'll see if other people have the same issues, but it's just the same thing, which is like, if there is a type of street that we think is a problem, that this is representative of, I think as a board, we should be asking for all buildings that fall into this same categorization to get the same treatment. And that's it. If it's old people living in a building on a one-way street and then doesn't have parking, I just think like that's what we should be asking for. That's it.
So like in this example, would you want to hold on approving this until we identify all those streets?
Yes, I mean, because I honestly don't understand like what is so special about this building. And I feel like that's not the, and I do feel, as people said at the meeting, that there are on this same block, there could be other buildings. And as you create no parking, it is in some ways a finite good. And I just think that like our responsibility from a policy perspective is to identify what the overall problem is and to listen to individual buildings, but to then create broader policy from it. So again, that's just my point of view. And I know there's other views.
Okay, Larry?
If Bob Cohn was here at the meeting, he would probably point out that these no parking spaces are frequently utilized by people who have handicap license plates. And they use it basically as a free parking area. And that defeats the purpose of them trying to keep the curb free in front of the building.
B?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
I think we have a responsibility as a board to listen to our constituents and individual requests. And all buildings are different. I thought the whole issue was for us to come up with a process, to make the process known, to evaluate the request in relationship to the rest of the street, but not to wait till everyone came or do something. We're responsible to the community, and this is the community asking us to look at something. We have the right to ask details. We have the right, as our process indicated. But I think we would have to hear again from the house, the apartment house, to see if their comments meet what our requirements are. And I don't know if we've gone through that with the building itself.
Yeah, Jerry?
Yeah, I would only add to your point that I think this is how precedents are made. They are made from a single example, not ordinarily a class action, but often raising consciousness that this thing that inconveniences the many over the few happens. And then do we have a template? And is in fact the first example a pilot of a sort?
I would just say one thing that I was looking online, and Pam, I see you online, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed that the buildings have almost 800 residents between the two buildings.
We do.
And a building, buildings of that size, who have elderly and handicapped people need loading zones. And those are good things for the city. And as a community board, we should be advocating for good things for the city. So let's let Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
No, you're correct. We have 400 residents in one building, 404, and 400 in 405. And we have an incredible amount of elderly people that have walkers, that don't have, when they're pulling up to the building, they don't have access to the door at all because the cars are parked so close to each other. Strollers can't get through, emergency vehicles can't get through. I did send a photo from this weekend for both 404 and 405. On the 404 side, you have the layover bus lane now. And you only have one through lane on 404 as well. And again, you can see where the cars are parked so closely together that you can't get through them. I don't know where, unless you're walking, are going to get into the building through the sidewalk. So if you're in a vehicle, a private vehicle, a taxi, your own car, whatever it might be, and you're trying to drop off or pick up, it's so dangerous that it's incredibly dangerous. And especially on both sides, but on the 405 side, when you're making a right from First Avenue onto 54th Street, that entrance of the building is very close to the corner. It's not far from the corner. So people just come around that corner very quickly. And if there's a car stopped there very few times I've seen people literally just come right up to the back of the car, to the trunk of where people are unloading or whatever, and they could get seriously hurt. Then you have no place for if somebody who is handicapped, wheelchair or walker or whatever coming out of a vehicle, you have no place for them to get through the cars, to get through to the building. And I think that it's really a safety issue. This isn't a preferential issue, it's a safety issue. And that's what we as a community board are very, very concerned about, is the safety.
Thank you for your comments, Pam. Maya?
I would like to see this move forward because I think we heard the merits on this when Pam spoke a few months ago, and we did draft up the list to where it's enumerated of what they need, and I do think that they meet those requirements, and I agree that we need protections for people who don't really know that this is an option for them, but I don't think waiting for the entire community to identify all the streets is reasonable, especially when CB6 is very diverse. Like up here in the 50s where we're talking about is very different than the parking needs and the building needs in the 20s. And I think we have to also acknowledge that is how our community district exists. And I do think B's point really resonates of that somebody is asking us to do something, and I think it's a very reasonable request. I don't think adding this is taking away from anything, especially the FDR lets out really near here. This is now in the congestion pricing zone, like there are people coming through here, there are less, but like we're still having safety concerns. And I think we need to advocate for the people who are in our district and live here.
So is that a motion?
Yes.
Before that, could I?
Yes. Please, Larry.
Okay, Pam makes a very strong case, but getting back to the comment I meant earlier, maybe Colleen can chime in as to whether no parking is the parking regulation that we really are aiming for. Since it does not prevent people with placards or handicap license plates from dominating those spaces from one end of the week to the other, and preventing the very people that you want to get into the curb from getting to the curb. Perhaps, as Barack was saying, we're thinking about something along the lines of loading zone, which is no standing, which prevents any vehicles from spending an extended period of time without moving at that space at the curb. Colleen, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, hi. So with the no standing anytime, right? You may not wait or stop to load or unload package or merchandise at the curbside. However, you may stop to expeditiously drop off and pick up passengers. So the appropriate signage would be the no standing anytime there.
Well, then let me move to modify the resolution that's been drafted to substitute no standing for no parking.
Second,
I'll second.
I have a feeling the residents aren't gonna be happy with that.
No, I think that like speaks to their intent from what they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, may I just say that what is critically important is that there is a space that when a car is dropping someone off or picking somebody up, that they have access. And I do want to mention something else too that's very dangerous, is that when you're getting off in a vehicle at night and you're in the only through lane, and you're managing getting through these cars that are parked so close together, you're also managing the bike lane. And the bike lane, you can't see people at night. You have to stop, you have to look, you have to be very careful because you've got bikes that don't have lights on them that are going east toward the greenway. And you can't see them. I mean, it's an accident waiting to happen. So with this lane or with this no parking or no standing, whatever it is, I feel that it's almost accomplishes the same thing. Is that you will have, when you get out of your car, you can look, you have the chance to look in the bike lane to see who's coming or not coming.
We do one thing just before we vote.
Can we just, yeah, go ahead.
Can we just go through the criteria that we laid out?
Yeah.
I think that would just be a good process though.
Yeah, so I have that here. So procedure was applicant name, applicant phone number, applicant email address, detailed justification for the request, including supporting documentation, e.g. photos, letters from residents, proposed type of parking regulation modification, e.g. no parking, and applicable hours, statement of support or petition from the building board of directors, tenant association owner or residents. So all those boxes are checked.
Right, and there's a motion for an amendment on the floor. It's been seconded.
It's been seconded, okay. So any other comments on the issue?
I'd like to call the question.
Okay. So do we need a second or?
So we're revising it to no standing.
Colleen, can you explain to me what the difference is so I can explain to the residents what the difference is?
Are you there?
Well, Colleen's coming on.
Oh, sorry, I'm here. I'm sorry, I was muted. Let me explain both signage to you so you have a better understanding. So the no parking anytime regulation, it indicates that vehicles may not park at this location at any time, but you may stop to load, unload packages or merchandise at curbside, and you may stop to expeditiously drop off and pick up passengers. That's a no parking. So the no standing, it's vehicles may not stop. They may not stand at this location. You may not wait or stop to unload or load packages or merchandise at the curbside. However, you may stop to expeditiously pick up and drop off. So the no parking, you can load and unload packages, but the no standing, you can't do that. That's the difference between those two.
So
And
may I
Colleen-
say something, Larry? May I say something? And that is that when you're pulling up to the building and you're taking out, say, a suitcase coming from the airport, wherever you're coming from, you're taking out a suitcase. With a no standing regulation, you're not going to be able to do that, not legally.
think that's true. I think
Well, the key word is, let me just tell you what it is. The key word is expeditious. I mean, if you have a suitcase, you're not going to be expeditiously dropping, expeditiously doing, that in a fast manner. But I mean, you will need some time. No one expects, you to, lift your suitcase as fast as you can and move it away from the curb.
Right,
So
right.
Yeah.
Colleen, if I understand it, speak, the difference
Hi, Bea.
really is FedEx can't unload their packages as
That's
opposed,
correct. Yeah.
as opposed to
Right.
someone coming from the airport
Yeah.
that
Right.
needs to
Yeah.
get out with his suitcase. That's
Yeah.
why I see the difference.
Yeah. But yeah. And again, this is all boils down to enforcement, right? In a no standing anytime, you could still have a FedEx or an Amazon truck utilizing that curb. And, they can be there and may or may not get a ticket. And again, it all boils down to enforcement. Sign can be there, but it has to be enforced.
Sure. So, I mean, yeah, and from our point of view, from what I understand from the residents' point of view, is that that's fine if there's not a FedEx truck there or a UPS truck, it's just access. They need access to the building safely.
Mhm.
Colleen, the real problem is placard abuse. It's not even abuse if it's a no standing. I'm sorry, if it's a no parking zone. You can park your vehicle if you've got a parking placard or a handicap license plate for as long as you like, and you're
Really?
not going to get a ticket.
Yeah, well, that's with the no parking. The no standing is more stringent.
Yeah, which is better.
And that's
Mhm.
why that's why I've recommended not the no parking, because you'll be very disappointed when someone monopolizes the space.
Yeah, Larry's absolutely correct. Yeah.
And believe me, I'm with that. We just need access to the building.
Okay, do we have any motions?
I made the motion.
Yeah, it was as a no standing
No
request.
standing. We have additional motions
Make a motion to vote on the resolution as amended.
and a second, 20 seconds.
Second.
All right, let's vote.
Okay, I'm just making sure it says no standing where it needs to say no standing, particularly in the result.
Oh,
I
you
think it's
still have
just-
it there. in the
Yeah,
minutes.
so, yeah, that one, I'm not sure if I can keep the no parking or not, because.
So Brendan, it should say no standing anytime.
Okay, yeah, I just wanna make sure. There are no more references to no parking and it should all be no standing. I am now ready to call names and hear whether people are in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. So please say how you vote when I call your name. Michael Cohen,
In favor.
Bea Disman,
In favor.
Mike Donahue,
in favor.
Brock Friedman,
In favor.
Eric Goldberg,
Opposed.
Marion Rowe,
In favor.
Larry Shire,
In favor.
Gabe Terzo,
In favor.
Jerry Weinstein.
In favor.
With 8 in favor, 1 opposed, this resolution passes.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Oh, Pam, maybe you want to come to the full board and
I
talk.
yeah. I intend to do that, yeah, because I also, my other question is, and which happens at the full board, is that I can speak in the beginning. And what I also would like to do is to a little bit of do it overkill, if you will, and that is to have a petition from the residents in the buildings requesting that this be done, so that there may be no stone unturned, and that to present that at the beginning of the meeting.
All right, you'll have 3 minutes to present that.
Quick-
Is important.
Yes, one thing I heard.
Yeah.
Think about this. Do you have sufficient lighting? Is that something that you should bring up? Because I heard,
Yeah, we do. We have, there's a canopy with sufficient lighting that's all lit under the canopy.
bikes.
Well, I know the bikes are a problem, but you know, we have this problem with the bikes at night where they're not lit. Even on First Avenue, it's horrific because when you have these dark places.
Let's, sorry, Pam, respectfully, let's move on to the next topic, but
okay.
please come to full board.
I will
on Wednesday.
indeed. And the other question I have though, real quick, is that when there are questions from the board, the full board asking questions to Jason or to you, Barack, would you be able to defend what it is that we've been talking about? Because they haven't really necessarily seen the vetting and heard the questions and heard the answers.
Well, we're gonna give it our best shot.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Pam, appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you
All
all.
right.
Have a good night.
So the next one is discussion about East 25th and First Avenue, which, if you recall, a member of the public came in to say that this is unsafe, but we don't say to that person, that's inappropriate for you to bring it up, you know what I mean? That it's okay that they brought it up, and we like that. And I should say that Larry, myself, and Jason did a walkthrough of the area. And does anybody have any thoughts about 25th and First? Yeah,
One thing I brought up to Jason today is I think we should add the component of there being a nearby school, and so that children are part of this miasma. It's not in this, not in the resolution. That safety includes students, young children.
oh, okay.
The
That's
two
it.
schools.
Yeah.
And the student activity, right?
Yeah, it didn't find its way into print.
Which school are you referring to?
There's the UN,
I wasn't sure.
but there's two, right?
British International.
Yeah.
At Second Avenue, there's the school for the deaf.
That's further afield. Yeah.
Okay, well, we could add that. Is that a motion to attend?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it creating a hazardous environment for pedestrians, including students from attempting to cross. Second whereas.
And of course, is the main thing is there's a playground there, major playground and recreation center.
Should we also consider, I know Larry, you brought up in the past, as they're redoing the bridge, if you should have a span that goes across 25th Street?
Well, I
as part
would,
of this?
I would recommend that. I've always recommended that. And if we could slip this into this resolution, it's another great opportunity.
It just feels like there should be another therefore at the end.
Well, I will second that.
We
I'm
have,
just saying, like,
Yeah,
if that's, they're spending all the money there.
we've got our four bullet points as suggestions, one not include a fifth.
Yeah, so if you want to make a motion, I'll second it.
Sure, but you know better what you actually want, so you move and how do you want it to be written?
Well, that the, did you have anything that's similar there already?
Well, these are the suggestions.
So is it just the
If you
current
wanna
construction of the pedestrian
expand-
bridge
ex-
over the FDR
expand-
Drive will
ex-
include a span over?
Well, expand the projected,
If we add this addition, like, what if? I doubt that they will, but what if they do decide to like do the bridge, but they're like, okay, it's gonna take us like 5 years, but like the concern is the safety right now, like, are we okay with adding this in?
I think it's a therefore further be it resolved, so it's like a second one.
Brandon, can you show the,
Can I see that?
it's right up there.
So what would the amendment be again?
I'm just trying to draft it,
I think as Larry writes it, it'd be like therefore be it further resolved.
Well, he has it in the.
no,
bullet
I'm
point.
putting in the whereas here, expand the projected reconstructed.
I'm not
Uh,
opposed to the idea, I just like, I don't think it's addressing the immediate concern, which is why it was brought to us.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's just an option, one of many.
Can we
options.
add then like, we're having this as like, as a future option that we would really like to have explored?
Well, it says, whereas potential safety improvements that could mitigate these dangers include but are not limited to, just adding another one right there. Expand proposed reconstructed east 25th Street Bridge across the FDR Drive,
Sure, but
to,
I think the other one.
also span 25th Street.
I think the other ones are more immediate solutions, which is,
Well, absolutely, absolutely. This
right, I
would-
think we need to better clarify that, like, understanding that if we get this further afield solution, we still want one of the other ones, because we would like this change tomorrow, right? They're not gonna build the bridge tomorrow.
Um,
I think we're asking for a study. And with possible solutions, so. If we list all these possible solutions, does that work, or?
Here, it doesn't speak in terms of a time frame. It just addresses whereas potential safety improvements that could mitigate these dangers, both the short and long term.
Yeah, maybe if we stay it like that, that's all I wanted to say, is to emphasize that we do need a short-term solution, but I would be very in favor of the long-term solution also. But if we do that, we need both. Because ideally, we don't want just like a Band-Aid approach to this either.
Okay, and if you want to hand this to Brendan, you might be able to.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. Just meeting continue. That would be the last bullet point with the last whereas.
And also the earlier language about the
the
short
short
and
and long
long
term.
term.
Thank you.
B,
So isn't that, I kind of agree that we need not to mix up short-term and long-term. So can we, before we expand proposed reconstruction, why wouldn't we say in addition to
Well,
in addition to the shorter term solutions, so you want to distinguish between what's realistic to be done in the short term and what will take longer, because otherwise it looks like we're looking for everything at one time.
well, the easy way to draft that is at the beginning of the bullet points, you could insert the words on their own line, short term, colon, and then before the last one, long term, colon.
That's fine, that would separate the two.
Can you change it, Brendan, to remove the both?
No, you can leave that, and
But you
then,
want to put short.
no, but right after that, between limited to, insert a line that says short term, colon, just as standalone, and then
To redefine it.
with the short term at the left margin.
Okay, so what should I be doing?
Okay,
Just under the new
from the colon after two, hit the return key. Okay, there, write short term. Colon. And then do the same thing for long term, just before the last bullet point that you added.
You could say longer term, not long term.
All right, fine.
Right, Chair.
I agree with what B says. And using the same language up above in the introduction, longer term.
So is it,
Yeah, longer term.
oh, yes.
Yeah, in the whereas. Yeah, so I think it's puts out the new idea, but also indicates that it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I would just add that, when Larry, Jason, and I, we observed this intersection for a while. And because the crosswalk is closer to the highway where the cars really have to slow down to make that turn. The cars are going slower at that place, whereas if you move it down, I think, Larry, you made this point, and correct if I'm wrong, but you made this point, if you relocate it, the cars would speed up.
And they'd be approaching the crosswalk at a higher speed than they possibly could now.
So, it's a
So,
double-edged sword.
Yeah, I would even think of removing that second bullet point, because I don't think it needs to be relocated. It just needs to be made more visible. And that the first item, the stop beacon is far more important.
I would just add, as a resident who's crossed that street every day for the last 15 years, the cars whip around and they don't stop and they go at high speeds and they don't slow down.
Yeah.
And with the crosswalk there, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying that, like, they blow through that stop sign and
Yeah.
kids, adults and people across there. and it's a blind turn.
Now, there,
They don't
does,
see
does,
it, and I
does
think
this,
putting signage, I'm just saying, doesn't make people follow the rules.
no, before the vehicles make the turn, is there an item here that, suggests installation of a warning sign
There
prior
is.
to the turn?
There is, we looked at it on the Google.
No, I'm saying, here, to enhance the warning sign prior to the
Anything
turn.
may work, may not work, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, the reality is, they come speeding off the FDR.
You're right.
And don't slow down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Michael?
I was wondering if there's a way to get speed cameras or speed bumps to make sure drivers don't speed as they leave the highway. And to watch, to make sure they slow down before going from the 50 miles per hour speed limit to 25 miles per hour speed limit. And make sure that they're watching for pedestrians when they make sure off the FDR drive.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that could be added if nobody.
I was gonna make a motion to amend this short-term, take out the second item and put in a new first item.
Take it out completely,
Yeah. Put in a new first item.
so move it or?
No, just delete it. Okay, and the new first item would be short-term, enhance the warning of a crosswalk prior to the turn. Or at least prior to the turn, enhance the warning sign of an immediate crosswalk. Or approaching it, okay, let me just
Let me
reword
add
that.
There at least should be some traffic calming measures then, because a sign is a sign.
No, I agree,
It's
and I
gotta be
think that
something.
was Michael's point about
Okay.
speed bump.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have the raised crosswalk.
but that's the raised crosswalk. I'm saying,
Okay,
cars slow down.
actually, what you could do, a short-term traffic calming, because aren't all of these, traffic calming measures? These are 4.
Yeah, I mean, just as a matter of note, like, the research is pretty clear.
Oh,
Design changes.
Take out the word sign, enhance the warning of an immediate crosswalk prior to the turn.
Sorry, Gabe, go ahead.
Just the kind of the science, social science research is that what changes driver behavior, the signage does not, right? Physical design changes and accountability change driver behavior. So we should just be kind of, those ideas should be kind of.
Yeah,
Incorporate that.
So can we add to also consider speed cameras and
Well, if there's if
speed
there,
bumps?
well, the speed camera would be is set for what speed?
Well, it would be 25 miles per hour is the speed limit for the city, right?
I'm not sure that vehicles after that turn are going 25 miles an hour. I don't think that they'd fly off the road if they were making the turn at 25.
What I think we saw there was the cars did slow down there, but I think Eric has 15 years of lived experience.
They slow,
No.
they have to slow to the turn, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, it's, by the time they get to the crosswalk, it's a hit and go if the person's, but not hit and go in that sense, I mean, like, whether they're gonna see someone, that's all I'm saying, is they come around that bend and it's dangerous.
So can we installation of a raised crosswalk or speed bump?
Well, that certainly gets people's attention.
So I guess modifying this particular bullet point to include or speed bump.
Or speed bump?
Yeah.
I mean, I would also say, in terms of asking for cameras, like, we don't have to design it, we can say, we think this is a pretty good idea, and they can tell us if it is or not.
Right,
So,
Or what kind of
So
camera were you
you're
recommending?
in favor of putting in language about a speed camera.
I would be in favor of that, if there's no objections.
I'm not sure that unless you know what speed is illegal. And if the camera is gonna actually, these cameras that say,
Well,
oh,
here's what
5
I'm
miles an
saying.
hour above it, you're gonna give a ticket,
But
and
it's
you're
sort of
already dangerous.
speed or a red light. I mean, like, I don't know, there's a stop sign there and people blow the stop sign all the time, so I don't know if.
Well, I don't know if
it's
you can
only
really
red.
have a red light there and just like.
No,
if you
not a
can-
red light, I'm saying, I don't know if cameras actually enforce blowing stop signs or they're only red light cameras. I assume it's
Well,
only
in
red
some
light.
places, there are, stop sign cameras. I'm not aware that they're used in the city of New York.
Okay.
Colleen, do you know?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Are there stop sign cameras in use in the city of New York?
No, not that I'm aware of, no, not stop signs. Mm-mm.
So any motions?
We'll vote on as currently written.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we're off for a vote. Brendan?
Okay,
I
when
mean,
I
just
call
to pause for a second, I mean, like, yeah, this is kind of watered down, but hey, here we go with it.
No, go ahead, make your pointer.
Do you have- you have
No,
some-
we have
just saying,
time,
I mean,
make your
like,
point.
I mean, these
You
are
have your
just
chance.
like, these are, it's all, I mean, can we go back through? It just feels like it's
Yeah.
signage. I just feel like this is an issue. Enhance the warning of an immediate crosswalk, installation of a beacon, which is also kind of signage.
Mhm.
The raised crosswalk is like at the crosswalk as opposed to before. Conversion to a one-way street. I'm just thinking like something to slow people down before they get
Well,
to the
Well,
crosswalk.
You
What
use
is
the word speed bump
It's
right
a
there.
speed bump,
Yeah, you have it there.
but or I guess I just wasn't clear that that's before a raised crosswalk or speed bump. Okay.
How about,
If that's clear that
how about
that's
changing,
before,
how
yeah.
about the,
Yeah.
changing the order? Installation of speed bump and or raised crosswalk.
Okay, if that's clear. I mean, just, yeah, I think a speed bump is important.
So the speed bump and or,
Right, raised crosswalk.
Well, not that Cassie right out of the speed.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, if no objections, let's go to vote.
okay, when I call your name, please say whether you're in favor, oppose, abstain, or not entitled. Michael Cohen,
In favor?
Dee Desmond,
In favor?
Maya Donahue,
In favor.
Brock Friedman,
In favor?
Eric Goldberg,
In favor.
Miriam Rowe,
In favor?
Larry Shire,
In favor?
Gabe Terzo,
In favor.
Jerry Weinstein.
In favor.
With all 9 committee members in favor, this resolution passes.
Okay, on to number 4. So this is about the 34th Street bus enhancements. So just to recap for everybody, this board passed a resolution in June supporting a busway on 34th Street. Since then, MTA, MDOT have come to CB 4, 5, and 6 to present the toolkit. So not to prescribe a specific solution, but just to show their toolkit of what they can do. And they are asking for feedback. So we did meet with CB4 and CB5 in collaboration again. And this letter that was emailed to you and the resolution is the product of that. So that's where it stands now. Now we're giving feedback back to the MTA and DOT about 34th Street. Any comments from the committee? Okay, well, I will just say that the busway is the gold standard for public transit. That's how the vast majority of people in our neighborhood get around. So I think the busway is a really important project.
Also, I observed the 34th Street bus lane on eastbound between the second and third pretty frequently. And the bus lane in and of itself is insufficient to actually provide the right of way that the bus legally requires is not, it's de jure, but it's not de facto. The fact of the matter is the bus is obstructed frequently with the current state of affairs. So we do need something more robust, and that's why I strongly support the busway.
I'd like to speak on it from a pedestrian point of view. Where I go to work, I frequently cross over the 14th Street busway from Union Square Station Stop to where I work south of 14th Street. And I think it's a much better pedestrian experience as far as it's quieter, it's not congested and filled with cars. There is the public art, which is very nice, so I would be more in favor of a full busway because you can have all those enjoyable benefits. I also walk over 13th and 12th Street, and I think as far as the increased congestion, if you want to call it that, just means you have to wait the full light before you're allowed to cross and you get your little Walkman. You're not gonna have as much freedom as other streets where you can maybe just walk when there's a break in the cars, but it's not crazy. So I think the pedestrian experience is also really nice in addition to the increased bus times.
Larry?
With the existing setup, in the beginning, one of the advertised features were gantries with cameras mounted on them to enforce the bus lanes. I suspect that those gantries are not put in the right place to catch violators in the places that we're now aware of that someone referred to an area where it's frequently breached earlier. And I think we could consider relocating those gantries with operable cameras, which issue tickets automatically to the trouble spots that experience over a number of years have proved require constant monitoring.
Okay. Members of the public, do we have anybody to speak?
A few people.
Okay, so Daniel?
Thank you. I agree that busways are the gold standard for bus transportation. And they reduce traffic and they increase bus speeds, which allows people to get from one side of Manhattan to the other. So I think that 34th Street should receive the full 14th Street treatment, just like the 14th Street busway. That's a model for all the busways in the city. So do that, and that would really help commuters that need to get from one place to another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. John?
I'm in. John should be able to speak now.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I just want to say I support the 34th Street busway idea as well. I think that that getting across town in Manhattan is still a challenge for most people, and that we've only got one busway in the city, and that we really should be working toward getting more because getting across town is a challenge. So I would just say I'm fully supportive of a busway. I also agree with the board members' thoughts who said about the pedestrian experience is enhanced too. I think with limited car access, I would feel safer as a person walking along that street and crossing 34th Street as well. And I just want to say I live in CB6, so thanks.
Thank you, John. Andrew?
Yeah, hi. So I've frequently go down to 14th Street, and so as like a pedestrian user of 14th Street, like most of the users of around that area, that's really a game changer when they move that to be a complete busway. And I've always wondered like why they haven't been doing that with more streets. And so I'm really happy to see that this effort to make a busway, a better busway on 34th Street is getting traction. I think it's especially important given the amount of new stuff in Hudson Yards that requires access. It certainly would be useful for me on the east side. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Emily?
Hello. Yeah, I also want to say I'm in support of this advanced busway. I'm a resident in CB6 and I live on First Avenue, so getting across town is always extremely difficult. Given that 42nd Street is often very congested, similar to 34th Street, I think this new improvement can make a huge difference for all the residents who live as east as I do. So I'm in support.
Thank you, Emily. Okay. Members of the committee? What say you?
Let's vote.
Any second? Second. Okay, Brendan?
Okay, so when I call your name, please say whether you are in favor, opposed, abstain, or not entitled. Michael Cohen,
In favor.
Pete Isman,
In favor?
Mike Donahue,
In favor?
Barack Friedman,
In favor?
Eric Goldberg,
In favor.
Miriam Rowe,
In favor.
Larry Shire,
In favor.
Gabe Terzo,
In favor.
and Jerry Weinstein.
In favor.
With all 9 committee members in favor, this resolution passes.
Okay, thank you, members of the public, for speaking. And let's go on to the next item, which is discussion of the 5 most dangerous intersections in NYPD 17th precinct. So I guess shout out to Stu Desmond, who sent this to us from the 17th precinct. They identified what they think are the 5 most dangerous intersections, and just looking at that list, it seemed reasonable to me. Thank you, Brendan. You reached out to the 13th precinct and they didn't have a similar
Well, they're
list.
seeing if such a list exists,
Okay.
which we'll see if it exists.
Okay, so if they come up with one, then we can have another resolution focusing on the 13th. But there's not much to this resolution, just asking, Colleen asked for a resolution. And so this is the resolution saying, here they are, can you study them?
You said there is a resolution or it's,
There is a resolution that was email, oh, sorry, B, go ahead.
I would say there is a resolution. Brendan, maybe we should put it up, but I was gonna move the question.
Yeah, just give me a moment. Find it, The resolution?
Yeah,
I don't
I'm having a
remember
hard
it.
time. Hard time finding it at the moment.
okay, well, if it wasn't emailed to everybody, then maybe we can wait for it till next time, I guess.
I mean, if it's really short, we can go over it quickly, right?
And if 13th comes in, we could combine them.
Yeah, it was just basically,
Yeah, and the agenda says discussion of the 5 most dangerous intersections in the NYPD 17th precinct. It doesn't mention a resolution.
okay, so maybe that's on me. Okay, there's one written, though, I promise you, and maybe we'll just bring it next
Yeah,
month.
we can straighten it out.
Okay.
It's just as possible that I accidentally missed an email, but.
Okay, so
We'll
we'll
straighten it out.
we'll straighten it out and we'll bring it next month. So then, why don't we table that and move on? Brendan, was there something specifically that you wanted us to do? With the,
District needs.
district needs?
Yes, so, that was actually what I was going to talk about. Just once I. Share my screen. Okay. So yes, want to give some remarks on the statement of community district needs, particularly as it pertains to the transportation committee. So each year, CD6 submits our statement of community district needs and community budget requests to the city. This is mandated by section 2800 D10 of the New York City Charter. For those of you watching at home, the New York City Charter is New York City's constitution. You can find this document that the city charter mandates on the CD6 website, cbsix.org. If you hover over committees, click on budget and governmental affairs. As it loads, there we go. And then click over here where it says CD6's annual district needs statement. This is 47 pages long. It's the size of a lengthy report. You are familiar with the budget request portion, which is in the bottom portion of this document. For your committee, sometimes reviews budget requests relevant to your committee, and additionally votes on the list of budget requests as a whole each October. But some of you might be a little bit less familiar with the statement of community district needs portion, which I'm on right now. This is a narrative where we go into our biggest needs in a number of different policy areas. And one of these policy areas is transportation and mobility. In recent months, the office has found that the transportation mobility section of the statement of community district needs could use an update. And needs to be reviewed so as to reflect current conditions in our district. A couple examples showing that this section could use an update. There is a portion of this document which talks about completion of protected bike lanes along the east side of CD6 is a critical component of DOT strategy. That was definitely true when there were gaps on First and Second Avenues, but unless there's something I'm forgetting, those gaps have been fixed. It says that CD6 is happy that there is now an East River Ferry stop at East 20th Street. That has happened several years ago. So these are just a couple of examples showing that at least parts of this document were written a number of years ago and could use an update.
I think there is one where it says we're looking forward to congestion pricing. I think
Yeah,
it was in there somewhere.
Yeah, I was tempted to include that, but decided, well, that if it were written like the year before last year, then maybe it's not as egregious, but yeah, that's another example.
So Brendan, just before everybody goes, what are you asking us to do?
That's what I'm about to get to, actually. In terms of what to do, in order to update this, the first thing that needs to be done is that the committee needs to select from this list you're looking at right now, what the committee considers to be the most important issue for this section of the Statement of Community District Needs, which is called transportation mobility. You have to select one item here. Another committee asked, well, there's more than one option here that's important. That may be the case, but you have to select one of these items and only one. That's the direction the city gives us. And then when you select which of these is the most important issue, there's a narrative where you need to explain why that particular issue you've selected is the most important and is more important than the other issues. And then once you do that, then you need to update the rest of this section. So as to reflect conditions in our district in 2025. It'll need to be updated according to the directions given in this document, as the city gives us very specific directions. The last thing I'll say is in terms of a deadline, the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee needs this by September at the latest, just because of the way the budget request timeline is. Ideally, though, in June, just to maximize the amount of time that committee has. So if the committee needs to discuss this over multiple months, that is okay. The committee has time to do that. So feel free to ask questions.
Well, I was just gonna say, we have a little bit of time, so maybe we could tackle task one.
Yeah.
And do you want to pull up the options, and if anybody wants to comment on this?
So the city gave us this list?
Yes, this is the list the city gives us, and the one highlighted right now is CB6's current pick, which is accessibility.
Okay. Larry?
Scroll down to see all those.
Yeah, let me also move this so that you can see a couple of others.
Right. I'll just touch briefly on a couple of these. One that you mentioned earlier, relating to the bicycle network, the bike lanes. You spoke about First and Second Avenue.
Yeah.
We're considering the widening of the bike path on especially Second Avenue. But what was mentioned a couple of minutes ago was the filling in of gaps. We still have a gap along the Greenway. And that sort of overlaps with Waterfront Committee. But I wanted to mention that, especially by the UN. And also enhancing the area next to the Skyports Marina, where all of the markings have disappeared. In addition, the signage to the ferry might be enhanced at 20th, going to 20th Street, but that also involves pedestrian signage as well. And we discussed that in connection with the prior resolution. So I wanted to remind you of that. Regarding the ferries themselves, there's been a problem with the winter time when the radiant heaters on these ferries have been disconnected for the last 2 years. And there isn't currently a plan to replace that. And I think we ought to ask for that. If ferries, maybe it would be in a budget resolution, but I did want to mention it in the overall sense.
I think here we're tasked with the can only pick one.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So I think,
Yeah,
I don't think we're gonna, go with pedestrian signage, you know what I mean?
Or what about that 34th Street busway and the 42nd Street bus improvement? That could be,
So that would be bus service and quality.
yeah.
Yeah, I was also thinking, accessibility, I think should always be number one, subway
Yeah.
service and quality.
Also all door boarding.
Yeah, just finish your thought.
Because of congestion, pricing being in effect, and it's made such a huge difference, at least where Brock and I live. I was thinking of just subway and bus service. But I mean, accessibility is always number one, I think. And at first I was like, well, I think there are like 2 subway stations in our district that aren't ADA accessible, which I think
Third
is really
Avenue on 14th
like
Street.
embarrassing, and shame on us for that and the city.
28th Street.
But I don't think that's talking just about the subway stations, correct? Like that's just accessibility for like sidewalks and everywhere. And I do agree that that is a number one issue. We want everyone to be able to move around safely and independently.
Does anybody disagree that accessibility should be number one or should not be number one? Does anybody disagree with that? Go ahead, Keith.
Well, I mean, I don't want to disagree with that, but I would argue that you could fit the plurality of our priorities into roadway design. We can fold daylighting into that. We can fold Third Avenue redesign into that, particularly a busway on Third Avenue. A dead bus lane on Third Avenue. We could fold, I think, 34th and 42nd Street busways into that as well. And I think we could fold sidewalk widening.
Bish, go to bed. Bed, yeah.
Colleen, we could hear you.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Say goodnight to your children.
You can add signage to that.
Sorry.
That's part of the Street redesign.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So I feel that
Signage.
of all of our stated priorities that we have articulated here over the last 12 months, I think we could fold most of them under that category.
And we can fold the ADA into that,
Yes.
accessibility into road design, right?
I believe so, yeah.
I think that's the right move too, especially, I do think ADA and accessibility is really important, but I do think the city has been making changes, like we mentioned 59th and Lexington, and they are building the elevator right now onto the platforms. So I think if we fold it, we can also address the other things while not excluding accessibility. Which just because there is always the problem if we take it away from them. Yeah, like they'll stop treating it like a priority, but I do think we can cleverly craft it
In the
to make
description,
sure that
in that
it still
description, yeah.
stays a priority, because they can build my one elevator now at my station and then be like, okay, we're done.
Well,
And we don't want that.
I would argue that there's also, at least currently federal impetus that they need to do that anyway, for the way we avoid being sued for our violations of the Americans with Disabilities
I was
Act.
gonna say, it's the law.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah. but-
so they have to do
Very
that
clever.
regardless.
Yeah, but they're behind on the timeline. They're significantly behind.
Only like 50 years. That's very reasonable.
Let's hear from B.
So I actually disagree with setting it up as roadway design. I think under accessibility, that's part of the design. I think it's accessibility and mobility are the two major things that we're after. And design is part of it. Some of the other things are part of it. Some things are not. But I kind of, if anyone thinks we're ADA is compliant, look at some of the dates of 28, 30 for an elevator in the stop. Look at some of the buses. It really is a major issue as the city ages as well.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing. It's not just about the elevators. I've seen people in wheelchairs not be able to get out of the train car to go to the other end of the platform and get on the next train. Say if they're switching at Union Square from 4 to 5 to the 6 train, they have not been able to independently get off the train car and get on the next one. And so it's not just about elevators here.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we could, or if I'm hearing B correctly, we can incorporate all these features under the heading of ADA rather than incorporate ADA under the other feature. It's kind of a little semantic, but take your point. Take your points.
Yeah,
Jerry?
it's not if I could just say, it's not semantic, it's how you try to sell something.
Yeah. Jerry?
Since this was raised, I was gonna hold this to later, but the form that Brendan sent along on Friday about accessibility upgrades, and he wasn't certain when it was due. I really thought that there's a lot of discussion for the full board instead of just a survey, because in my discussions, I've done some stuff with disability pride in Philly and whatnot. There's so much which is buried under this discussion, as Miriam just said, that for example, a station that might be cited as accessible is like you have to go 3/4 of a mile to go from one elevator to another. And so even me adjudicating these things, I find myself terribly insufficient. And I know that's for a sort of old new business, whatever, but I just sort of wanted to.
Go ahead, Larry.
I think that the MTA at this past month's board meeting addressed that very issue. And they have reinterpreted those regulations so that you could have a single elevator go from the street down to the platform without having to switch elevators at a mezzanine. And so going forward, we're going to get new elevator, maybe one eventually at 28th Street and one at on the Lexington 3rd Avenue on the what do you call it, the yellow line, and I know it's outside our district, but also on the Lex, the 456 at Union Square, you could perhaps have a single ride down from the street to the platform. Now, based on the legal interpretations of the MTA. I was thinking, though, that we have made so much progress over time in terms of the curb cuts, the little dots that tell you where you're reaching the end of the platforms, the signals that make noise for those with vision problems. That I'm not certain that there is that much in the way of new designs that need to be invented or even implemented at this point. But I could be wrong about that.
So just want to be respectful to everybody's opinions. Brendan, can we go around and everybody can just say their one thing and take it as a vote? Is that okay with everybody?
We have like 30 seconds to look at the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the entire list, by the way.
And then once people select one, I'll try to write something up. Okay, Brendan?
Okay, so yeah, when I call your name, please say, whether, like, which of these on the list that you think is the most important. Michael Cohen,
I would say the accessibility.
okay, so one for accessibility, B. Disman,
Accessibility and mobility.
okay? Yes. Maya Donahue,
I am in favor of the roadway and traffic design folding.
okay? Barack Friedman,
Accessibility.
Eric Goldberg,
Roadway and traffic design.
Miriam Rowe,
Accessibility.
Larry Shire,
Roadway and traffic design, which folds in accessibility.
Gabe Terzo.
No pressure. I guess I opened this Pandora's box, so a roadway and traffic design.
And Jerry Weinstein.
Accessibility.
Okay, 5 of you said accessibility, 4 of you said roadway and traffic design. Split right down the middle.
And I'll just say to the road and traffic design, you're speaking to my heart, and we'll incorporate that into ADA.
Yes, I think
So,
my vote was
don't
very
worry.
soft and
I'll work something
understanding
out.
accessibility more broadly, I'm perfectly happy to support it.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say to the committee is, like, the committee can talk about roadway and traffic design in other parts of this document. It just, there's only one issue, unfortunately, that can be selected as the most important issue. Not my rules, the city's rules.
So I'll try to write something up and send it to you, Brendan, and we can go from there, okay?
Sounds good.
Chair's report, I'll waive. The only old new business I'll just raise is Brendan, you sent out an email about the subway accessibility. And everybody here should fill it out and say which subway station, you think is needs the elevator as soon as possible. MTA is looking for feedback. And it's obviously the busier ones that they're gonna go after, but
Yeah.
still, we should voice our opinion.
Yeah, and I will say, as someone who did the survey myself, there's an opportunity to select as many as 3 stations.
Wow.
As well as elaborate on why you select those stations, so yeah. Probably most helpful is to not just select the station, but elaborate on why.
Yeah, Michael?
So I was wondering, like, is there also an opportunity to discuss, like, about the roadway and traffic design? Like, will there be an opportunity to discuss potential street improvements as part of the statement of district needs? Because I really feel like could better utilize some of the street space, especially on the side streets.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think there's room.
Like, on some of the little
That.
streets in the district, I think, like, you have a very wide, and I was looking at this on Google Maps a while ago. And they have a very wide driving lane, and I'm thinking, like, there's something you could do with it, like, you got a 20-foot, 19-foot driving lane, there's some way you could redesign the street.
Yeah, definitely 100% agree. All right. Anybody else have any older new business? Okay, so a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
And what is the time?
8:19.
Okay.